Okay, hi, good morning. I'm Tom Scales. I teach economics, business. I don't know why it's just showing Ben's screen now. It's supposed to be unpinned, but anyway. Oh well, who cares? I teach economics, business, and I've taken over the agriculture program here a few years ago, and I've slowly been taking over more and more of these classes. But our agribusiness program is a partnership between us at Southside and Virginia Highlands Community College. And the way it's working is I teach Virginia Highlands' animal science students, and Ben Castile here that you see on the screen, he teaches our plant science classes. So it just sort of works out. We'll get to use his expertise because I know nothing about plants. And I don't know, to use my animal expertise, that's kind of a generous phrase. I don't know what Virginia Highlands is getting out of it, but okay. So it's going to be a little bit weird. My role is if you have a Southside related question, issue, or something, come to me. I'm going to be facilitating recordings, posting things on Canvas and that kind of stuff. But if you have any plant related questions, any content related questions, those would go to Ben. As far as scheduling to take tests and that kind of stuff. I guess you still use that all in Canvas again? Still?
Yeah.
Yep, so there we go. And the one thing I'm going to say, Ben, for you, I'm not going to force people to take it in the tutoring center because COVID. So they take it online anytime, is my thinking. Anyway, so I'm going to shut up, and here's Mr. Ben Castile, your actual real instructor.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you, although I can't see all of you there with the masks on. I know everything's different with COVID, and I know it's a challenge for everyone. But I think that together we'll get through it. So I just wanted to start off this morning just talking a little bit about kind of the basics of the course. And this first week, we'll just kind of be going over just an introduction to the course, introducing each other, and just kind of getting in the swing of things, really, of the fall semester. Welcome back. I know it's nice to actually be back in the classroom for those of you that are there in person, and for those of you that are watching this later on from home online, hello out there in internet land. So first off, a little bit about just agriculture in general. I assume everybody that's in here is in the agribusiness program. I think a very important thing to note on agriculture is the culture part. So going back in time a little bit, or a lot of it actually, they say that Homo sapiens, the human race, appeared on Earth somewhere about 200,000 years ago. That's what the anthropologists say anyway. And for about 99% of the time that Homo sapiens were on planet Earth, we were hunter-gatherers. And really, our bodies kind of evolved for that, to be able to go out and hunt for food and gather wild plants. But it was very, small and incremental changes in our behavior that changed our landscape as well as ourselves, and really led to our, culture as it is today. So somewhere 10 to 15,000 years ago, they say that we had started to practice some form of agriculture. And that began with the domestication of both plants and animals in different pockets all over the world. That happened notably in Mesopotamia, is where they look at some of the first ones. We'll talk about this later on in class in more detail. But they started to domesticate wheat, is one of the first things that we kind of track it back to. And it all started with a mutation in that wheat plant that allowed people to be able to basically harvest the seeds and then replant them. So it might not seem like a big deal right now. Of course, we do this all the time, but to think about it, 10 to 15,000 years ago, without tools, without, or really good tools anyway, without a tiller, without a tractor, to be able to actually break the soil, put seeds in the ground, and grow a crop. It's kind of what we think about as the beginning of agriculture. And throughout time, of course, that has changed dramatically. We have a lot of different technology that allows us to produce crops in different ways. And of course, there are still people out there that do it the old-fashioned way, even using a plow pulled by a mule. There are some people actually, maybe even close to you, that do that in, say, like Amish communities, for instance. So anyway, I say all of that because it's been a long time in the making to get us to where we are today, to this course, to us sitting in a classroom or watching from home. And I think it's really important just to note how agriculture has changed and developed throughout the millennia. Also, it's very important to note that even though probably many of you might be more on the animal side, some of you might be more on the plant side, they're both equally important. I think of the book Animal Vegetable Miracle, Barbara Kingsolver wrote. She actually has a restaurant up the road here in Meadowview, Virginia, kind of based around this idea. But I think it takes both, really. We need animals and vegetables. Our diet is an omnivorous diet. We have teeth that are suited both for the crushing of vegetable tissues, as well as sharp teeth for the cutting of animal tissues. So it's important to think about both. We couldn't have meat without the plants to feed them. What did everybody have for breakfast today? Chances are you ate something that came from a plant somewhere. Plants are incredibly important. We wouldn't be here without them. They help to create soil. They help to create oxygen that we breathe in. They're part of our everyday life. They're part of the buildings that surround us. Plants are incredibly important, and it all starts with a seed. So hopefully we're going to be planting those seeds today in your minds, as well as physically planting some seeds throughout the class. Our lab sections are going to be a little bit different this year. In the past, we've kind of done some field trips, and we would do some field trips here at Virginia Highlands and with some students from Southwest Virginia Community College, as well as Tom would be leading field trips there. This year, we can't do those in person, obviously because of the pandemic, but we're going to be working on different ways to still get almost as good of an experience. I don't think anything can compare with actually going to the place in person, but there will definitely be some opportunities for you to do that to different farms in your area. Here we're going to be doing some virtual lab trips. So we're actually going to be going out and making some video footage based on different farms in this area, and Tom's going to do some there as well. So we'll have virtual field trips. We'll have kind of self-directed field trips as well. And also we will be doing some take-home labs. So I'm actually going to send out some lab kits for you guys. So one of the first things I will need everyone to do is to send me an email, and you can do that through Canvas or through whatever email, through your Gmail account, preferably. with your address so I can get a lab kit sent out to you. And we're going to be doing a few different labs through these lab kits. One of them is looking at soils. Also going to try to send you guys some seeds to do some germination testing, and also just for you guys to be able to actually grow some plants, which I'm sure probably many of you do already. Just raise your hand if you have a garden at home. Everybody, that's great. So we're all growing plants, whether that's COVID related or not. But I want to try to provide you with something, and I'll give you an opportunity to maybe select a specific type of plant that you might want to grow, even though we might think that it's kind of outside of your typical growing season. We are kind of entering into the fall gardening season. So we have a period of time before the first frost comes, kind of governing that growing season, that we can still produce some crops. So I want you all to be thinking about what you would like to grow. Also, some food for thought here, be thinking about a crop that you all want to focus on for pretty much the rest of the semester. We do a big crop project in this class. So what you'll basically do is figure out whether you're thinking about animal or plant production, figure out what plants might be involved in that, and then we'll thoroughly research that and then basically share that with the rest of the class. So that's what I want you to be thinking about now. What crops are you most interested in? And I will post a discussion board on the Canvas site that will allow you to basically first come, first serve, go ahead and choose your crop that you want to focus on. If you're more into animals, that might look like a forage crop, maybe some alfalfa, maybe some rye or wheat, or a pasture grass. Could be a combination of pasture grasses. So either way, be thinking about what crop you want to focus on, and if possible, we'll try to get you some seeds of that crop to do a little bit of artificial growing of it. By artificial, what I mean there is just growing it in a container, usually a plastic container. All right, so just wanted to mention a little bit about myself, why I'm here teaching you guys about plant science and technology. And just a little backstory there. I actually was studying in high school computer science, and I at some point realized that I hated being behind a computer all the time, which is kind of ironic because that's where we find ourselves this morning. But either way, I was actually, when I graduated high school, I was going to go into the networking program, and I gave it up kind of last minute and did a little bit of a 180 there and decided to take some horticulture courses instead. At that time, they just started the horticulture program at Virginia Highlands Community College. And so I was in the first class. And in that process, I took pretty much every horticulture course I could, and I excelled in those horticulture courses because I loved them. Loved working with plants, loved being outdoors. I also got first a job at working at a local greenhouse, and then later on started doing landscaping. Ended up working for a couple of different landscaping companies. Also did some nursery work and just working in a garden center as well. So actually got a lot of experience while I was going to Virginia Highlands as well. And in that time, I ended up taking a break. While I did great in my horticulture classes, I didn't do so great at the core classes, right? Your English and math and social sciences, humanities courses. They probably weren't my strong suit. I just wasn't as interested in them. I find that I'm more interested in that stuff today, but my chief interest was with growing plants. And anyway, so what I've kind of discovered in that process is that I needed to take a break. And yeah, community college, we have these 2-year programs. It took me 3 years to finish. And I was kind of doing a double major, if you will. I did partially the program that was meant to prepare you to enter the workforce, go start working in the field of horticulture. And then I was also planning on transferring. And we have a transfer partnership at Virginia Highlands with Virginia Tech. And I believe the agribusiness degree is also qualified for that. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes. Yes,
So I think if you maintain a 3.0, you get guaranteed admission to Virginia Tech. So keep that in mind if you want to transfer. So that is an option. Anyway, I took a break from my studies because I was just getting overwhelmed, and I went and hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia all the way to Maine, a little over 2,000 miles. And before that, I did a whole lot of studying on plants, and specifically the edible plants, those ones that are useful along the way. On that way, I supplemented my diet with these edible plants, found over 200 species of plants that are indigenous to the Appalachian Mountains, tried different ways of using them, eating them, and getting some of the nutritional content from those edible wild plants. Finished it up, made it back, finished my degree the next semester in the fall. Welcome, Jessica. And then at the end of that, I went back, and the landscaping job that I was working at, a place called Simply Natural here in Abingdon, Virginia. They gave me a $1 raise and promoted me to be a landscape foreman. So I did that for a little over a year before I decided I wanted to do something else. I needed something more. I wanted to learn more. I was tired basically of just making rich people's yards look good. I wanted to do something more. So I ended up going back to school, but this time in Arizona. Instead of going to Virginia Tech, I ended up going to a small liberal arts college in Prescott, Arizona, which is kind of like halfway between Phoenix and Flagstaff, kind of high desert. And my thinking there, they had a program in plant breeding. That's really what I was interested in, and it was the only undergraduate program in the country and one of the few in the world, actually. So I got out there and had a great time kind of exploring the Southwest, and then later on just the rest of the Western U.S. Before coming back here and starting my own business, growing crops, basically. We did a CSA, we did a little bit of sales to restaurants, sold at the farmer's market. All organic, not certified, but organically grown produce. And I didn't actually own a farm myself. In fact, where I grew up here off of Interstate 81, it actually started as basically it was all pasture pretty much when we first moved there. I think I was 3 years old when we arrived in Bristol. And I slowly watched as it got turned into pavement. It started with a Walmart being built, and then all that pasture turned into asphalt. Ironically, there was a Lowe's there next door to the Walmart, and it actually just opened, turned into a Rural King. So ironic that it went from being pasture to somewhere now that sells products to manage your pasture. Anyway, back to the point. I guess what I'm trying to get at here with my backstory is that I've been in what I kind of refer to as the green industry for guess about 17 years now, if you count that time when I started. Did some landscaping in the very beginning. So it's been a long time coming. When I came back here, we had a fairly successful business there for the first few years. And on this farm in Meadowview, basically our landladies basically just let us use the land as long as we worked for them, kept up with the land. We had to mow their yard and stuff. Other than that, we basically got to use the land for free. So it was a really good deal. And we were lucky to find some people that were just passionate about agriculture and, wanted someone to make use of the, 47 acres that they had. Really beautiful place, nice spring on the property that allowed us to have a hoop house with spring-fed crops. Also had some pasture in the back and good open area where we could do some poultry too. So we had laying hens. We had about 100 at the peak of our egg production that we also sold at the farmers market. So worked with plants in a variety of settings. I haven't done much animal production other than the chicken side of things. They're the pastured poultry. But I am very interested in animal production. I have a friend actually who is now the manager of the largest farm in Virginia. Not too far from us over here in Russell County, a little bit closer to Southwest Community College. It is Stewart Land and Cattle Company, and he's managing about 60,000 acres. A lot of full-time employees out there at that farm. Beautiful place though, and that's one of the places I'm hoping to take us for a virtual field trip.
Actually, the animal science instructor we used to use from Southwest, he used to work there.
Oh, really?
Yes. Dwayne Farthing, if you end up getting in contact with him, he may be able to get you some contacts there. But yeah, he talked about Stewart's all the time.
That's awesome. It's an interesting place because it was originally a land grant from, I guess, King George III. They basically, I guess the Stewarts originally came over there, and the story was that you could, find a mountaintop or whatever, and all the land that you could see would be yours. And so I think it was originally something like 250,000 acres, and they've scaled down to a lowly 60,000 acres now. But it's a huge farm, beautiful place. And I talked to him a lot about how do you manage the plant side of things to make it better for the animals, and that's one of the things that we try to look at here in the plant science and technology course. So if you're ever out this way, then we might be able to arrange an in-person field trip too. All right, so before I just keep rambling on and on, I guess we probably need to talk a little bit about the class itself. Everything